Hey, so, Colin, is that your first name? Yes. Hey, so, do you know Anna?
Last name is Wilson. Oh, yes, I do.
So,
there's really no easy way to say this, sir. So, apparently last night she passed away.
This is Colin Strickland, and he was just told that his ex-girlfriend, Anna Wilson, was brutally murdered only hours ago.
Austin 911, what's your emergency?
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and there's blood everywhere.
Austin, please! Hey.
Do I stop?
What?
I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
Get up.
When cops first arrived at this gruesome site, they suspected a robbery gone wrong. But a series of damning clues found at the crime scene quickly pointed to not just a meticulously planned murder, but a deadly love triangle, and a killer that was closer to home than anyone expected.
Did you kill Mel?
No.
On May 11th, 2022, police were called to an address after a woman made this disturbing 911 call.
What's the address of the emergency?
It's 1708 Maple Avenue.
Okay, tell me exactly what happened.
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and there's blood everywhere, and I don't know what happened.
Is she awake?
She's not awake. There's blood all over her face and all on the back of her head.
Is she breathing?
No, she's not
Okay.
breathing.
I've got the paramedics on the way to help you. Stay on the line, Caitlin.
That caller was Caitlin Cash, and she'd arrived home to find her friend, Mariah Wilson, clinging to life after being shot.
Austin, please! Hey.
Do I stop?
What?
I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
Get up. Okay.
1 second. Let her get up.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go so you can talk to them, okay?
Yeah, I had shot. Nobody heard any shots? We don't know how long she's been down? No. And that's it. Pretty close to it. Yeah. Oh, we got CSF in there.
After assessing the situation, officers noticed cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF for short, oozing onto the floor. This fluid surrounds the brain, meaning the bullets had actually pierced her skull and killed her instantly. This meant there was no saving her, no matter what anyone did. But officers could still bring her killer to justice, which is why they need answers right now. Answers that only Cash can give, as she is the only witness that officers currently have.
Do you know if he's talking to anyone or any friends? I know you say you don't live here.
Yeah, there she was with her friend Colin. Yeah.
Colin's last
Colin Strickland.
Colin Strickland?
Strickland, yeah. Yeah. They went swimming.
Okay.
Did you see a gun or anything like that when you were in
A bullet piece.
Colin? You said Colin Strickland? Strickland? Okay.
Yeah.
And you know where Colin Strickland is? No, but I have his phone number. I can call him. Or I can give you his phone number. Get information from you. You said, so she went swimming with Colin Strickland?
Went swimming. I left to go have dinner with my friends, and then I came back. Yeah, this is my house. This is your house. This is my house. She's staying with me.
Right now, police are a bit disoriented as to what exactly went down just hours earlier, but they would soon run into some evidence that would change everything. Worth noting is that situations like these can be extremely traumatizing for those involved, but that's also the case for people watching these types of videos, just like you at home. If you've ever felt you need help with mental health, you should know there are always people you can reach out to. That's why I'd like to thank BetterHelp, the sponsor of today's video. I've partnered with them to provide you with an easy and simple solution to therapy. Therapy has helped me overcome my anxiety, manage my stress levels, and become confident enough to build a team that helped grow this channel to over 1 million subscribers. Thank you guys, by the way. The biggest problem I found with therapy is that you usually have to go through a lot of therapists before finding the one that's right for you. BetterHelp makes this easy. With their 30,000 licensed therapists, BetterHelp will match you with someone who understands your needs the best and gives you a safe space to talk. And if it's not right the first time, no sweat. You can switch therapists as many times as you want. No hard feelings. So if you're struggling, consider joining BetterHelp. Simply click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/DrInsanity and fill out the easy questionnaire to get 10% off your first month of therapy. Now let's get back to the video.
When is the last time you spoke with her?
When I left here at 5:30.
Are you guys friends? You and him are friends, or
like acquaintances.
well, no? What car he drives? Is it
A cyclist.
a cyclist? Does
Yeah.
he live in this area?
He lives in South Austin.
Does she have like a license or a wallet up there at all? You know?
I mean, she should.
She- okay.
Yeah.
Your sister's from San Francisco,
Well, she's from Vermont, but she's living in San Francisco.
and she came to visit you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, she's here for a bike race this weekend.
Okay. Did her and Collins have an argument at all? Do you know?
I don't have any idea.
You don't know-
The
you know-
only thing I know is she said I'm meeting him to go swimming.
Okay. All right. And what time was that?
5.
5 p.m. today.
Yeah. I mean, I can see
What-
it in my text messages. I just,
When was the last time you saw her? Was that when you saw her? Or you
I
had eyes on
left
her?
for dinner at 5:30.
So you left for dinner at 5:30. What time did you come back?
Right 2 minutes before I called 911.
Okay, so
According to Cash, Mariah had been with Colin, her ex-boyfriend, all day and was home only a few minutes before she was found dead. This made Colin a major person of interest that the cops would interview later on. But for now, there are more pressing matters. It turns out Mariah was in town for a bike race and had brought along with her a $14,000 racing bike, which could have been a massive target for someone. And as the cops would soon find out, that bike was missing. It quickly became a possibility that someone could have been waiting for Mariah to be home alone and attempted to rob the bike, only for Mariah to resist and end up getting killed. This being their only lead, officers needed to trace down where this bike went, as it could take them straight to the murderer.
But that's her bike
Cover.
cover. Yeah.
So where did the bike go?
Probably there.
Did she keep the bike in the garage, or where did she keep the bike at?
So if you right through this first unit right here, this is her. And these are her landlords. So this is
So this bike covering the.
the big. Yeah.
So where would her bike be at?
Where would she keep her bike?
I mean, it would be right inside the door. Yeah.
Is her bike's inside the door? Is there a bike? Anywhere? You see a bike? She said she would put it right by the door. No bike. That's negative, Jobs.
With no trace of the bike in the house, officers decided to begin searching the woods nearby when they made a discovery that showed them they were on the wrong track completely, leaving them with absolutely zero leads.
Hey, come here. Somebody might be in here. This might be the bike, okay? But hold on. Somebody might be in here.
Henry, hold on. Henry, hang on.
Okay. All right. Over there. At 432, I located the bike.
Since the bike was dumped nearby, officers suspected that this was placed as a red herring for them to chase. Officers are being tricked, and if the killer is smart enough to trick officers, they're also smart enough to begin covering up their tracks. This is why the officers swiftly moved to gather evidence from the scene, the most important of which are the shell casings from the bullets used.
There's one right there.
You said right there. Where?
There's one right there. One right there.
Okay.
Those bullet shells will help cops identify the gun used. Now they just had to find that gun and the shooter, who officers initially believed could have been Cash. It is for this reason that officers bring Cash back to the police station in order to conduct a crucial test to confirm whether she's innocent or not.
So, let me tell you this up front. By no means in the world do I think that you did any of this. Okay? But so what they're gonna do, we're just gonna have them swab your hands for gunshot residue. If we don't do this to you, then in court they can say, oh, what about this other person? Why didn't you do this part of the investigation?
A GSR, or gunshot residue swab test of Cash's hands, presented a negative result. Considering that Mariah was in a very narrow space of the home, officers concluded that Caitlin could not have been the one to murder her. Fortunately, though, Cash did provide an important piece of information. The last person in contact with Mariah was Colin Strickland. Digging deeper into this, cops discovered that the two were having drinks at a nearby cafe and have never suspected that this would be the last time that they saw each other. This is why Colin was an important lead who could give officers valuable insight about the events leading up to the murder. But before police went in to interview Colin, they noticed some houses in the neighborhood had CCTV cameras installed, which could possibly help reveal the killer's identity. When investigators watched the footage back, they found something very interesting. CCTV footage revealed this black Jeep driving directly towards Cash's home where Mariah was staying that night. The moment it arrived, Ring cameras caught this gut-wrenching audio. And immediately after the shooting, the killer escaped. Although this was a massive breakthrough, there was one glaring issue. Officers had no way of identifying the driver. After all, the cameras were too grainy and the vehicle was too far away for officers to get a shot of the driver or run the plates. However, only a few days later, they come across something incredibly interesting when going to question Colin Strickland, Mariah's ex-boyfriend.
Hey, how's it going?
This is the same black Jeep that officers saw on cameras parked right outside Colin's home.
Hey, so Colin?
Yes.
The first name? Yes. Hey, so do you know Anna?
Mo. And then Mo.
Yeah. Everybody calls her Mo.
Last name is Wilson.
Rider, she's a
yes.
gravel rider.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so
There's really no reason to say this, so apparently last night she passed away.
how did
Yeah.
right now it's an open investigation, but it is being investigated as a homicide.
Right now, the cops know he was the last person to see her alive. They've discovered a vehicle in his driveway that matches the one captured on security cameras, and it even has a bicycle rack attached to the rear end. Colin Strickland has just become their #1 suspect, but he doesn't realize this yet, as officers continue to question him.
Okay.
Wow. Do you happen to have her mom's address by any chance? I know that she lives in Vermont. I have an address for her brother, but we're just trying to send someone to her mom's address instead of us actually calling her over the phone. Didn't know.
I don't have an address for her mother. We went to Deep Eddy yesterday afternoon, and then we heard her, and they dropped her at her the apartment she's been staying at.
Yeah.
Right after about 6:30.
The cop intentionally avoided telling Colin how Mariah died, as they do with any suspect in a murder case, but they notice his body language is concerning, as he is barely able to look them in the eyes. This could either be because of pure shock, as the two had spent the previous day together, or in the worst case scenario, he's afraid to look them in the eyes because he had something to do with the murder. So to uncover these secrets, police started looking into Colin's life and his history with Mariah. This is when they discover Caitlin Armstrong, Colin's girlfriend who separated from him in October 2021, but then got back together a month later in November. However, during their breakup period, he had a month-long romantic affair with Mariah and remained in contact with her even after he resumed his relationship with Caitlin. Immediately, officers begin suspecting that Caitlin could be one of the major suspects in this investigation. These suspicions were further confirmed when they ran the plates of the black Jeep and found that it didn't belong to Colin, but it was actually owned by Caitlin. Considering that Colin was good friends with Mariah and Caitlin hated this made her a suspect in this investigation. So to get to the bottom of this, officers bring in Colin 2 days after the murder in order to achieve two objectives with one interview. The first would be able to see whether Colin has a solid alibi that he can present to the officers. After all, whether he did it or not, Colin was the last person to see Mariah alive. And the second is to gather information that can be used against other suspects, like Caitlin.
And you said that y'all left around like 6:30 to.
I don't think that's accurate anymore because we must have left Uber at about 7:45 or even later, probably maybe more like 8.
Yeah.
Just as it was getting dark.
Okay.
Because we went straight to her place and it wasn't dark yet, but it was.
I got you.
It was cooling off, and it was like awesome evening. I remember that.
Okay. Well, what about whenever y'all were at the bar? Was there anybody that was like watching y'all, or I was acting weird with Mo, or
Mo didn't know she doesn't live here, so no, not at all.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Anybody that did like try to hit on her at the bar or anything, or
no?
Okay.
No, not that I saw. Nor that she mentioned. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary, to be honest, at the bar.
The cops are looking for more than just details of what he and Mariah did that day. They're going to try and figure out why exactly the black vehicle from the murder scene was conveniently parked at Colin's home.
Whenever I was over there earlier, I saw there was the other car, because you said that you drive a motorcycle and then you drove the Mercedes.
Drove Mercedes.
Up here. I guess the other one
is hers. My girlfriend, Caitlin.
Okay, so that belongs to her. Okay. Yeah. All right, so you got back around like 7:30.
I don't know exactly when that was. I think I texted Caitlin as I was leaving, just saying, hey, are you still out getting food? Yeah, more like 8:30 is when I dropped her off at her house.
Okay.
Like just before dark. So I texted Caitlin as I was after I left.
Okay. And that was whenever you.
It says 8:36. And I think she was in a yoga class. She showed up. Time close.
So you're getting back home. She's not home. What time was it that she got home?
Short right after I texted her, probably 9:20 or so. That's 9:21.
Okay. Like where had she been? Like that whole.
She had actually a laser hair removal appointment, she said, at 7 p.m. downtown.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, I'm not exactly sure. She had texted me asking if I wanted to meet up, and I didn't reply. And then I didn't see her or hear from her until I was back at home.
And did she say anything like whenever she got home of like where she'd been?
No, but she was in her like a yoga outfit, carrying a yoga mat.
Although Colin had heard from Caitlin the night of the murder, he couldn't give her a solid alibi and didn't even know exactly where she did her yoga classes. He also managed to avoid mentioning his romantic affair with Mariah, but he'll soon be left with no choice but to tell the cops everything.
So how long had you and Caitlin been dating?
About a year and a half, maybe 2 years actually.
Okay. And then how long was it that y'all had broken up whenever you and Mo got together?
Not very long, actually.
While you were dating Mo, Caitlin was still living with you?
She was moving out.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she had another house. She had a sister in town, and yeah, it was definitely very.
I was about to say that would probably be pretty.
It definitely was
awkward.
It was kind of almost like something I felt like I to force the situation, which is stupid, but...
So, why was it that you had to change the name from Mo in your phone?
Just because in the past, Caitlin has looked at my phone, and I just didn't want to surface.
Basically, that would always start fights.
Exactly.
Basically, nobody else can have you.
Yeah.
So he gets kind of jealous.
Yeah,
Understandable. I mean,
wasn't exactly unique to Mo or anything.
Yeah, I got you.
After listening to Colin, officers achieved what they set out to do. First, they cleared Colin, who had texts and times to back up his alibi. Secondly, they managed to gather information about Caitlin, whose entire story is shady. That means that out of the 3 suspects that officers have, Colin, Cash, and Caitlin, only Caitlin's movements are entirely unaccounted for. This is why cops were now more suspicious of her than ever, but had no irrefutable evidence to arrest Caitlin. At least, not until the cops searched the police database and hit the jackpot. Caitlin Armstrong had a warrant on her head for a minor infraction. It was all they needed to bring her in, and then use it as an excuse to question her about Mariah.
All right, so I'm Detective Connor, and so my partner is actually talking to Colin right now. So I wanted to come in here and start chatting with you and everything, so you don't have to wait super long. So it sounds like you may have some information, may have witnessed something, so I just wanted to chat with you about some stuff. But you're here for a warrant right now, I guess. Are you familiar with what you have going on with that?
No idea.
Okay, so I guess it was like a theft of service warrant, something kind of minor. Nothing. Okay. So that's why you're here. You've got a theft of service warrant. That's why you got picked up today and everything. So I was just letting you know on that part.
Observe how the detective maintains an almost nonchalant demeanor, despite the gravity of the situation. This is deliberately done to create a sense of security for Caitlin, ensuring she remains unaware that she is under any suspicion by the police. Despite this, Caitlin appears noticeably tense and uneasy.
Can you tell me what it was that was the theft of service?
I can look. I'm not sure what it is at this point, but I can look that up later and get you a little bit more information on that for sure. But because you are here and because you were under arrest for that portion of it, we always have to read Miranda and stuff because I want to talk to you about some other stuff that's unrelated to that.
The officer has ignored Caitlin's questions about her warrant because she is more focused on digging up information about Mariah's murder, a tactic that becomes dangerous as Caitlin begins to raise concerns about her legal counsel.
If I have an existing warrant and you don't know what it's about, do I need an attorney here?
So the warrant is just a Class B, just theft of service type thing. The reason I'm here is because your name came up during a conversation with Colin. I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of explain some of the stuff he's saying. But to be able to do that, I have to read you your rights, just so that you know and you're protected and things like that, okay?
Okay, and so if you're reading me my rights, then I should
That's because of the warrant, because you're under arrest for the warrant. So you're technically in custody because of that warrant. So they're 2 separate things. Does that make sense?
I think so, but I have never heard.
Even though they have Caitlin exactly where they want her, one tiny mistake is about to allow someone cops suspect to be a killer to walk away scot-free.
Well, good news. So that's what they were just knocking on the door is apparently that warrant, the date of birth was wrong. So it had your name, but the date of birth is wrong. So it's to a different person. So that's not, you're not under arrest, okay?
Okay.
I know, it's a little crazy.
Although the cop tries to make a joke of the situation, Caitlin now knows that she can leave whenever she wishes. After all, cops have no legal ground to hold her any longer. This is why it's down to this cop to try and convince her that talking is the right thing to do.
But I would really like to talk to you and clear some stuff up because Colin did bring your name up, and I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of clear some stuff up. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I feel like I should have an attorney present.
So that's totally your choice. So at this point, you are free to leave at any point. So this is going to be consensual at this point because you're not under arrest, okay?
To make matters worse, Caitlin has just requested an attorney. Legally, the detective is now bound to cease any and all questioning related to Mariah's murder, but she's about to thread a very dangerous line of breaking the law in order to get any information out of Caitlin.
I would love to leave.
You would love to leave?
He just arrested me in front of my house, in front of all of my neighbors, and carried me in here in handcuffs in front of downtown Austin. It was incredibly
I can only imagine. Yeah, and I'm so sorry. I don't have control over that part, okay?
Yeah, I'm not upset with you.
So there's a situation that's going on. Did you hear about what's happened over the past 24 hours?
Colin walked in the house and said one of the women in the cycling community passed away.
Yes. Yeah. While Colin was talking to us, your name came up. And so that's where I would really like to talk to you, because it sounds like there were some issues between you and this girl, and I think that there's probably a lot more to it that you could help explain.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you mean or what information you'd like.
So it sounds like maybe he went out with this girl the other day, and maybe it sounds like from what he's saying that you were a little upset about it. And so that's why I kind of wanted to get your side of it, because that's not fair if he's just saying one thing and trying to go down a route, and I want to make sure that's not the case.
That is not accurate.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to chat with you, because it's a guy. He's going to say stuff, and so we want to make sure that we get both sides of the story and everything and clear it up. So what were you doing yesterday?
I would like to leave, I think.
You'd like to leave?
Yeah.
Okay. But understand, if you do, then we only have one side of the story to go on.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we're hearing from Colin, you know, it's one side, and
well, I just am uncertain as to even what you mean or what he could have said, because I didn't have any idea that he saw or went out with this girl.
Okay, yeah.
Recently.
Has he been like talking to her on the side?
Leave. I don't actually know, and I would like to leave.
Okay.
At this point, getting Caitlin to talk willingly seems like a lost cause. She knows she can walk out of the station and nobody can stop her. So the detective decides to drop their bombshell evidence in the hope she might crack.
And your vehicle was seen next to her house, and we needed to talk about that, okay? Because when he's saying this stuff and then your vehicle is seen, like, I want to be able to explain, okay, there's a logical explanation for this. Maybe you were upset and you were just in the area or something. Like, I don't know, because I don't have your story. When I can't explain that and all I see is that your vehicle's over there, that kind of makes it look not too good, right? Okay. And then when we're talking to Colin and we're hearing like, yeah, there was some jealousy stuff going on, like, that doesn't sound very good. And so that's why I really want to get your side of the story, because maybe there's a lot more going on.
I would like to leave if I am free to leave.
Okay.
Unfortunately, there was nothing that officers could do to stop Caitlin from walking out. At this point, they were incredibly suspicious of her, as her behavior throughout the interrogation meant that she was hiding something. But if officers couldn't find out what this was from Caitlin, they'd do it from the one person who knew her best, Colin Strickland, who was called in a second time for an interview in hopes of uncovering more information about Caitlin. However, there is one problem. This time, Colin brought his lawyer with him, and questioning him is about to become exponentially harder.
How was Caitlin during that time? I guess, my understanding, she wasn't too happy whenever she saw Mo.
Caitlin we were, after Mo was in Austin for a week, and Mo and I had broken up with Caitlin before Mo came to town.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually did not know that she was coming to Austin in October. I had no idea. We hadn't discussed that, and I don't think so, because it felt like a surprise. And then she was here, and I just said, "Oh, let's hang out." So I was mentally ready to kind of move on. And I know after Mo left town after a week, Caitlin's things were still at my house. We were sleeping in separate rooms, and effectively, Caitlin was on Bumble. I know she had made several dates with people. I don't know. I never asked what extent they were evolving a relationship, but I know that she had several men that she was dating of sorts, and I was fine with it. I mean, that was kind of the understanding, of course. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, it just seems very weird to me that there would be any dwelling on fixating on a person when she was moving on to other relationships, at that time.
From what Collins says, the two clearly had a troubled relationship, especially considering the facts that both Colin and Caitlin rebounded while on break. This is why officers need to dig deeper into what Caitlin acted like, both during and after this time, to determine if she showed obsessive traits in her personality.
It's just kind of going back to, me just trying to figure out, just kind of how she is, her personality and stuff. I mean, if you were to ask me about, hey, how was your wife? Well, yeah, I'm going to tell you, yeah, she's always happy. But does she get mad? Yes, everybody gets mad. That's natural. I'm not going to blow that out of proportion. Do I think that my wife could go and kill somebody? No. There's no way in the world. Do I think my wife would hit somebody? No. Now, if you ask me that about my 6-year-old son, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he wouldn't punch somebody at all.
I think Caitlin would hit somebody. No, I honestly don't, because it would be too. I don't know. Do I think Caitlin could kill somebody? No, I don't.
If Caitlin had been planning to murder Mariah, Colin was about to make it clear he suspected nothing all along.
I said, I think y'all need to stop talking to each other. You need to separate yourselves from each other while the fact finding is going on. I just don't think it would be helpful.
Of course.
And so I don't think there's been very much. There's definitely not been any being together
since she left. And I left Friday midday, eventually to get a new SIM card for my phone, which I assumed was okay.
Yeah.
Had the same number.
You're allowed to have a phone.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
And then saw Claire. Since then, I haven't spoken with Caitlin or seen her. And so the two detectives came by my house yesterday. Asking if she was there, if I had seen where she was. And my father had contacted her yesterday morning. He had gotten in touch with her. I gave him the number that Caitlin had given our mutual attorney.
Has she ever mentioned in the past of wanting to hurt Mo?
No, she's never mentioned wanting to physically hurt.
Okay. Do you think that she is capable?
If I thought she was physically capable of hurting another human, I would have extricated myself immediately from that situation. Not only not so much for my own personal safety, but my concern for another human.
So what's that answer?
The answer is no.
Okay.
I don't believe in any way she's capable of that.
Okay. The gun range that she visited with her sister, do you know where that gun range is?
I think it was on South I-35. I told them to go to the Reds, which is now something else, which is the one I drove past on my way to school for 12 years at the Waldorf school. But they went to another one because a mutual friend had been there.
You bought the guns, right?
I bought the guns, yes.
When was that?
I think early December.
Okay.
There's a receipt with them. I'm sure you could look at the receipt.
In an ironic twist, Colin had bought Caitlin a gun for self-defense, but after police conducted a firearm examination, it just so happened that the bullets it used were the same caliber that were found near Mariah's body. So far, the cops had evidence of Caitlin's car at the scene, they knew about her obsessive behavior, and they knew she owned the same model of gun that was used to kill Mariah. But while they searched for her whereabouts, the investigation continued to uncover crucial and damning evidence that not only heavily suggested Caitlin was responsible for Mariah's death, but also cleared Colin of any wrongdoing. The cops gathered all cell phone data and compared it to the surveillance footage, allowing them to map the movements of Mariah, Colin, and Caitlin on the night of May 11th, 2022. Colin and Mariah were at Pool Burger after their swim and were there around 7 p.m. When they left, they headed to Maple Avenue, but didn't realize that Caitlin was stalking them and was driving in the same direction. Caitlin thought that turning off her cell phone would cover her tracks, but the surveillance footage caught her, and what it shows is a black Jeep eerily similar to Caitlin's closing in on the house where Mariah was killed. As Colin dropped Mariah off at the Maple Avenue address, both were completely unaware that Caitlin was secretly stalking them only yards away. The same black Jeep had driven down the back alley of Maple Avenue and was slowly heading toward Mariah's address. Moments after Colin left, a neighbor's doorbell camera captured audio of Mariah screaming for her life before she was murdered. Colin's cell phone placed him driving away from the area before Mariah's death and cleared him as a suspect. This meant that the only person who could have killed Mariah was Caitlin. All that was left to do was arrest her. But when officers went to find her, they discovered a massive problem. Just hours before they solved the murder, Caitlin had left the country under a fraudulent passport which was originally her sister's. Caitlin likely did this to avoid using her own passport in case officers were keeping tabs on her, but the fraudulent passport gave her enough time to escape. After getting a search warrant for her Gmail records, officers found a flight ticket that was booked for a one-way flight to Costa Rica. Even CCTV footage obtained from Austin Bergstrom International Airport in Austin showed her boarding into the plane. An initial investigation into her records showed that she had booked a hostel in Santa Teresa Beach while working as a yoga instructor. So, to lure her out, an officer sent a message out on social media asking for a yoga teacher in the local area. Soon, Caitlin took the bait and replied to the ad and agreed to meet up. But in the month that she'd been on the run, she'd taken some extreme measures in order to conceal her identity. Caitlin had undergone several surgical operations to alter her appearance, but there was no fooling the arresting officer, who recognized Caitlin from her eyes. She was arrested and flown back to the United States, where she was charged with attempted murder. However, that wasn't the end of it, because in October 2023, Caitlin tried to escape again by taking advantage of a doctor's appointment outside of jail. She can be seen here fleeing from the cops after she jumped from a bathroom window. This time, she was caught almost instantly. If the several attempts to escape justice and falsifying of documents weren't enough to convince a jury Caitlin was guilty, then the surveillance footage and the testimony of Colin Strickland, and most importantly, the ballistic analysis that matched the gun to the shell casings found at the scene of the crime certainly were enough to convince them. Consequently, a year and a half later, on November 16, 2023, Caitlin was found guilty of first-degree murder, and she was sentenced to 90 years in prison for the cold-blooded murder of Mariah Wilson.